Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're opening up some really interesting old accounts. We're exploring a fascinating story.
Yeah, this one comes from the city of Rajagaha, actually on a festival day, so you can imagine it's pretty busy.
Right, a bustling scene. And it's a story that I think gives us a really unique look at things like respect perception.
And maybe what really makes someone, genuinely liked or revered.
Exactly. So, let's set the scene. We have the Buddha, right? And a large group of monks.
A very large group. The texts mention 80 great elders, plus another 500 monks. A significant assembly.
Wow, okay. And they're entering the city Rajagaha for their morning alms round. Standard practice.
At the same time, though, there's another group, 500 boys. Young men, maybe.
And they're leaving the city.
Yes, heading on towards a park.
Yeah.
And importantly, they're carrying baskets just packed with cakes. Loads of them.
Okay, so we've got the monks coming in, the boys going out, cakes involved, their paths cross.
They cross, and the boys, they see the Buddha and this big group of monks.
And they react.
They do. They show respect, pay their respects the customary way.
But then
they just keep going. Towards the park.
wait, with all those cakes?
With all those cakes. They didn't offer any.
Not a single one. Not to the Buddha, not to the senior monks, nobody.
Nope, none at all. Just paid respects and went on their way.
Huh. Okay, that feels unexpected.
It certainly did to the monks. The accounts, they mentioned the monks were pretty surprised. Maybe a bit confused, even disappointed perhaps.
You'd think, right? All that potential offering right there.
Exactly. Why wouldn't they offer, especially to the Buddha? That seems to be the question running through their minds.
But the Buddha himself had a different take on it.
Oh, completely different. He saw what happened, saw the boys walk off, and he apparently just made this really knowing statement.
What did he say?
Something along the lines of, "Don't worry, monks, you will get cakes." He said the real owner of these cakes, the one they're meant for, is still coming.
Still coming behind them.
Yeah. And with that, he basically said, let's wait. He and the whole group sat down under a tree nearby, just waited.
Okay, setting up some suspense there. Clearly there's more to the story.
Definitely. He knew something the others didn't perceive yet.
So they're waiting, and someone does come along behind the main group.
Yes. The sources tell us it was Mahākassapa, a very highly regarded disciple.
Mahākassapa. Okay. And how do the boys react when he appears?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Their reaction is totally different.
Not just polite respect this time.
Not at all. The text uses some strong language here. It says they felt like immediate affection, filled with joy just seeing him.
Wow, like a really strong, visceral reaction.
Exactly. It was apparently quite powerful, this feeling that came over them.
And did that feeling lead to action?
Instantly. They eagerly put down their baskets, all those cakes right there.
Okay.
Then they paid him the deepest respect, a full prostration, 5 points touching the ground, really showing deep reverence.
A much stronger show of respect than before.
Much stronger. And then right after that, they picked up the baskets again.
Yes.
And offered all of them.
Yeah.
Cakes, the baskets, everything. They presented the whole lot to Mahākassapa, asking, please accept this.
Whoa. So they went from offering nothing to offering everything they had just based on seeing Mahākassapa.
Seems that way. But Mahākassapa, he didn't just take it for himself.
What did he do?
He told them, look, the Buddha and the whole Sangha, the assembly of monks, they're sitting right over there under that tree.
Ah, the ones they'd just passed by.
The very ones. He instructed the boys, basically, take this offering there, share it with everyone.
Guiding their generosity.
Exactly. And the boys, they didn't hesitate.
They agreed.
Readily. They turned right back around, went with Mahākassapa over to the tree where the Buddha and the others were waiting.
And offered the cakes there.
Offered the cakes to the entire assembly. They served everyone, watched them eat, and then even offered water when they were done.
Yeah.
A complete act of service.
Wow, what a turnaround. Prompted entirely by Mahākassapa arriving.
It appears so. But, the monks who had been waiting and watching.
They saw all this unfold.
They did. And the sources say they started murmuring among themselves, talking quietly.
What were they saying? Still confused.
Well, yeah. Their perspective was still shaped by that initial encounter. They were thinking, essentially, that this offering was just based on, personal favoritism.
Because the boys seemed to really like Mahākassapa.
Right. They thought, oh, they just saw his face, they like him, so they gave him the cakes. They noted the boys hadn't asked the Buddha or the other senior monks about giving the cakes first.
They only asked Mahākassapa.
Exactly. So from the monk's viewpoint, it looked like, maybe a bit of a slight, like picking a favorite.
Based on appearance or some personal connection, maybe?
That seems to be their interpretation. But the Buddha, of course, heard this murmuring.
And this prompted him to teach.
Precisely. He addressed their unspoken judgment, their confusion about why this happened.
What did he explain?
He basically said, well, yes, a monk like Mahākassapa, and he referred to him affectionately as his son, is deeply beloved.
Beloved by whom?
By everyone, by gods and humans alike, the text says. And he explained why. He said people, beings, they naturally feel moved to make offerings to someone like him to provide the four requisites because of his inner qualities.
Ah, so it wasn't just random favoritism. It was a natural response to something within Mahākassapa.
Exactly. The Buddha was pointing to a deeper cause, and then he gave a verse that really crystallizes these qualities.
Okay, let's hear the verse.
The verse goes, one endowed with virtuous conduct and right view, established in the Dharma, speaking truth, doing their own work, that person is dear to others.
Okay, that's packed with meaning. Let's break that down a bit based on how the sources explain these terms.
Sure.
The first part. Siladasana sampanna, endowed with virtuous conduct and right view. What does that mean in this context?
Well, virtuous conduct here isn't just basic good behavior. The commentaries explain it as the four kinds of purified virtuous conduct, a very high standard of ethics.
Okay, high ethics and the right view part.
That's right view connected with the path and its fruit. So it's not just agreeing with doctrines. It means having a deep, direct insight into reality, the kind of understanding that actually leads you on the path to awakening and towards its results.
So pure ethics plus profound path-leading wisdom.
Got it. What's the next quality? Dhammahas, established in the Dharma.
This one's quite profound. It means being established in what's called the 9 kinds of supramundane dharma.
Supramundane, meaning beyond the ordinary world.
Exactly. It basically refers to having directly realized the ultimate truths, the stages of enlightenment, the experience of nirvana itself. It's about having a direct personal experience of that ultimate reality, not just knowing about it.
Wow. So direct realization. Heavy stuff. Then there's Sakavadana, speaking truth. Sounds straightforward, but I suspect there's more to it. There is. It's not just about not telling lies in an everyday sense. Here, it means speaking truth from the perspective of having fully grasped the Four Noble Truths.
The core teachings about suffering, its cause, its end, and the path.
Right. But understood deeply, in multiple facets, the text says, realized in 16 ways. So, the truth they speak is grounded in that fundamental, liberated understanding of reality.
Truth informed by enlightenment, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last one, Atana Kamakubana, doing their own work. What's their own work? Is it chores?
No, not chores. The text clarifies. One's own work, Atano Kama, specifically means practicing the 3 trainings, the Sikha.
Which are?
The training in higher ethics or virtuous conduct, the training in higher concentration or mental discipline, and the training in higher wisdom. Diligently cultivating these is doing one's own work.
So it's about active, dedicated spiritual practice and inner development, not external stuff.
Exactly. It's the inner cultivation that matters.
Okay, so let's recap those qualities. Deep ethical purity combined with transformative insight, direct realization of ultimate truth, speaking truth rooted in that enlightened understanding, and committed ongoing spiritual training. These are the qualities the Buddha pointed to in Mahākassapa.
Yes. And the verse concludes by saying that person, Tajano Krudupi, the one embodying these qualities, is made beloved, is dear to others.
Made beloved, meaning it's a natural consequence.
That's the idea. It's not something they seek, but something that happens naturally to them because of who they are.
And how does this belovedness actually show up? How do people express it?
The commentary gives examples. It says, ordinary people, Jano, they feel a genuine desire just to see such a person. They want to show respect, to venerate them.
And the offering.
And they feel moved, spontaneously, to offer the 4 requisites: food, clothing, lodging, medicine, the essentials. It's described as a natural drawing towards them, a response of the heart to genuine spiritual depth.
This completely changes how you see the monk's initial reaction, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What they perceived as maybe, superficial favoritism.
Yeah, like they just like his face.
Right. The Buddha revealed it as something much deeper, a natural, understandable response to the powerful presence of these cultivated inner qualities in Mahākassapa.
The boys weren't being shallow. They were reacting intuitively to his spiritual attainment, his Spiritual magnetism, maybe?
That's a good way to put it. Their spontaneous generosity was like the outward sign of recognizing that inner depth.
It shifts the whole focus, really. From the act of giving to the state of being that inspires the giving.
Precisely.
And maybe the most incredible part of this whole story, the conclusion. After the Buddha gave this teaching, prompted by Mahākassapa and the boys, what happened to the boys themselves?
Well, this is amazing. The text states that at the end of that discourse, all 500 boys attained the fruit of stream entry.
All 500. Wow, that's the first stage of enlightenment. Right, a huge deal.
A massive transformation. Their hearts were clearly opened first, through that spontaneous feeling from Mahākassapa, then being guided by him, and then being receptive to the Buddha's explanation. It led directly to their own spiritual breakthrough.
Incredible. Just shows how encountering genuine spiritual qualities and understanding them can be a powerful catalyst.
A really powerful demonstration, yeah.
So, reflecting on this deep dive then, it really highlights how surface appearances can be, well, misleading.
Definitely. True respect, true affection, the kind that makes people want to give freely, it doesn't seem to come from just position or title or how someone looks initially.
It comes from these deep inner qualities the Buddha described: virtue, wisdom, realization, truthfulness, diligent practice.
Those seem to be the foundation. The boys reacted to that foundation in Mahākassapa, even if they couldn't articulate it, and the Buddha used that moment to unpack it for everyone.
And it's a stark contrast, isn't it, between the monk's initial judgment based on appearance and favoritism, and the Buddha's much deeper explanation focusing on inner cultivation.
A huge contrast. And it led to that amazing transformation for the boys themselves.
Yeah, their story arc is just phenomenal, from festival outing to stream entry.
It really is.
So maybe a thought to leave you, the listener, with. Think about these qualities from the verse. High ethical standards, real wisdom, speaking truth from understanding, dedicated inner work.
How might these qualities actually manifest, perhaps subtly, in people you meet today? And reflecting on this story, why might these specific things, rather than, say, fame or power or position, be what truly inspires genuine respect and affection in others? Something to ponder.